Hey there and welcome to Roscoe's World. My name is Josh and we actually have a pretty exciting day today. Today's episode, I'm going to start having a couple of series going on at the same time. Now currently right now, as it sits, I'm working on the animated series for my first volume of Roscoe's World. So the animated series is following this book right here. This is Roscoe's World Volume 1. And today is the day that we are actually going to start working on Volume 2. And so that's going to be my second series. Now, originally I was going to wait until after I was done with the animated series to work on Volume 2, but I quickly realized that the animated series is going to take me a very long time to finish. I have 22 episodes to do, and I've been working on this for a month, and I've only done a minute of animated. So the animated series is going to take a very long time. Originally, I had it set to where I was going to have the animated series premiere at the beginning of the summer. I don't think that's possible now. Unless something crazy happened and I just start getting through it real fast. But then again, it runs into the realm of being kind of crappy because I rushed it. So I'm really not going to push the issue as far as how long the animated series is going to take. Seeing how that's going to take a while, I don't want to wait for Volume 2. I'm going to start working on it now. I figure today's episode, we're going to do a little bit of a backstory, basically me explaining how Roscoe's World came to be. It's kind of an interesting story, so I'm going to explain it all. And then I'm going to explain the future of Roscoe's World, what I have planned. And then on top of it, I'm going to explain what I'm going to do with Volume 2. For those who don't like a lot of talking videos, you may want to scroll. This video may not be for you, but for those who have ever thought about writing a book or ever had like a story in their mind that, man, you really want it to tell, but you just don't quite know how to do it, or you just need a little bit of help, or maybe even a little bit of encouragement to do it. Trust me when I tell you that if I can do this, you most certainly can do this. I'm someone who failed almost every English class he ever took. To this day, it still blows my mind that I wrote a book. But sometimes I don't even believe it. My book wasn't sitting right in front of me. I wouldn't believe it. It's insane that I wrote a book. So when I tell you that if I can do it, you absolutely can do it, and I can help you. If you stick around, you might learn something, you might come up with a little bit of encouragement, and you might figure out a way of writing your own book. And really and truly, writing your own book, there's never been a better time to write your book, to tell a story. You never know where your story is going to take you. I mean, this Roscoe's World project fits that to a T. I mean, I never intended to create what I have created. This whole thing, it really just evolved into what it is today. I never set out to create a whole series of books. I never set out to create an animated series. I never set out to create an activity book. If you're interested in maybe writing a book one day, or maybe a short story, or you want to create some puzzles for an activity book, or even just a coloring book, watch this video all the way through. You might learn something, you might find some encouragement, and together we can get it done. Before we start, please make sure you're hitting that follow button, because this is going to be an ongoing series. It'll be a little bit different than what you see with the animated series. So 2 days ago, January 25th, now you're probably seeing this video way later from now. I record my videos way in advance just in case things come up or I'm busy with something. I have backstock of videos so that I can maintain my video schedule. January 25th is a very important date for me, because January 25th marks the 3-year mark of when I started this project. Now again, when I first set out to start this project, I never intended on doing anything like this. Roscoe's World really started from this photo right here. This photo was crudely drawn by me 3 years ago. This is the photo that started everything. At the time, I was working on NFTs, back when I thought NFTs were going to be like the next big thing. I was coming up with different ideas for an NFT collection. Now, I like to be completely different than everybody else. I don't like doing the same thing that everyone else is doing, because your designs and your ideas get lost in the shuffle if you're doing the same thing that everyone else is doing. I really try in everything that I do to try to be completely different than what everyone else is doing. I will say that I kind of caved in when it came to the NFT collection. I just felt like everyone else was doing these characters. Do you remember the Bored Ape characters, the NFTs with the apes and they were wearing different outfits. And I really felt like I needed a character. Now, Roscoe's World is based off of my dog Roscoe, if you can't tell. I figured, why not create an NFT collection based off my dog? Now, Roscoe died a year before. Quick backstory on him. He had a cyst in his stomach. The cyst grew too big in his stomach for him to live a pain-free life, and I really just had no choice but to euthanize him. And that happened a year before I started Roscoe's World. Where Roscoe died February 25th, 2001? A year later, on January 25th, 2022, I started Roscoe's World. It all started with this photo right here. So I thought, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and create an NFT collection based around my dog Roscoe. I thought, well, what can I do that's different than like Bored Ape or any of the other character NFT collections that I was finding? So I thought, all right, well, these characters don't have a background. It's just the character and they're in funky little outfits. I thought, well, all right, let me see what I can do. Let's see if I can create some kind of a background. Well, what kind of background would I want to do? Why not just mess around with some places, right? What I call POIs, or places of interest. Create a whole NFT collection around Roscoe visiting different places around the world. Well, let's just try one. So I worked on with Egypt. Now, obviously, my drawing skills are not amazing. I just started designing and getting okay at what I was doing. My skills have drastically improved since then. This was my first attempt at really drawing on a computer. After I was done with it, I was like, man, I can't possibly release this. I was like, this is terrible. And so I thought, well, what else could I do? Well, I decided to turn it into black and white just to see maybe that would be an interesting way of doing it. Black and white versions of Roscoe visiting different places around the world. Black and white versions started an idea. I thought, wow, that kind of would be cool as a coloring book. I thought, all right, I create some more of these and really create a coloring book around this. I really wasn't confident enough in going anywhere further with Roscoe's World as an NFT collection. I thought, all right, well, what about a coloring book? Let's see what we can do. So the next one that I did was this one here. Now, I basically went in order here, and you can see I ended up doing 15 POIs, which are these POIs right here. You got Egypt, you got Rome, you got Greece, you got China, and you got Japan. Originally, these 15 POIs were just Roscoe in different places around the world. And I really felt like at the time, all the extra Roscoes weren't there. It was just Roscoe like he is in this first Mummy one. It was just, oops, he's in a tomb now. And, oh, he's at the Colosseum. Stuff like that. But it occurred to me after I was finished with the first 15 POIs that the world kind of seemed a little bare. Not much going on. What would Roscoe see on his travels? Who would he see? Would he see people? Problem is again, as you can see, I'm a terrible drawer. I can't draw. I thought, well, there's just no way I could pull that off by drawing convincing people or creating any kind of a bunch of different dogs, thousands of different dogs. And I was like, there's just no way I could pull that off. What if Roscoe saw different versions of him, but this time, instead of different versions in different places, I would focus on the people of those places. So then I started with these 15 POIs, and you got the Mayans, pirates, English, Americans, and you got Vikings here. And as you can see, they're a lot more fulfilling. They look better than they do the first 15, but I wasn't about to redo the first 15. So I just kind of added to the original 15 after I had created second part of the 15. Then I finally finished the 30 POIs. One day I was finished with it. It was all done in black and white. I finished all 30 POIs. I figured, 30 pages for a coloring book is a decent coloring book. I can sell that. So once I finally finished 30 POIs of Roscoe in different places around the world, I thought, man, is 30 pages enough? I mean, I don't think that's enough, really. So I thought, well, how can I add to it? Well, I thought, all right, well, what if we had the characters? What if we continued to expand on my original idea of doing the characters? I created, 90? I think it's 90 characters for Roscoe's World, all the black and white versions of it. I went ahead and finished it. So here is the coloring book that I finished. As you can see, POIs and black and white versions, and then you have the characters of Roscoe's World. And once I was finished with it, I was like, okay, well, is that it? Am I done? I was sitting there looking at the POIs like so, and just kind of wondering where I can go with this. I still wanted to make the NFT project work with Roscoe's World. I thought, well, some of these aren't bad. I probably could create an NFT program around this. The program that I was going to create was an NFT program. You would basically invest or buy my NFTs, and then the products that came from the NFTs, you would get the profits. So if I sold a shirt with the Mayans on it, if you owned the Mayan NFT, you would get the profits from the sale of a Mayan Roscoe's World shirt. That was the overall idea for Roscoe's World NFT collection. The problem with all of that was that it doesn't pass the Howey test. Now, I've explained this Howey test several times, so I'm not going to go into it. If you're interested, you just type in the Howey test and it'll explain it. The quick overview is the SEC requires you to pass the Howey test. It's a test that basically decides whether your project is an investment or not. And if it passes the Howey test, it's not an investment. But if it doesn't pass the Howey test, it is an investment, and you'd have to register with the SEC. You're basically investing into Roscoe's World to get a return on something that I have to create in order for you to get a return. I had to shut it down, and man, I was crushed. And so I just didn't know what to do. I thought, well, all right, I guess this is it. So one day I was just sitting there looking at the POIs and just kind of down about how everything turned out. I was really excited about this NFT idea. I really thought, man, this would be it. This would be great if this would work. And it just didn't work out, and I had to shut it down. And so I was sitting here looking at the NFT project. I started piecing things together. I kind of have a pretty big imagination. I think we all have an imagination as a kid, but we sort of lose it as we get older, or at least pretend like it doesn't exist in our mind. But I just never kind of lost it. I was just sitting there daydreaming one day, looking at the POIs, and just my mind just started connecting the dots. Well, you could go from Egypt and you could go to Rome. You know, if you're in Rome, you could go to Greece, you know, and then, oh, well, if you were in China, you could go to Japan. Well, you know, the Vikings went to England, and England went to America. And what's just outside of America? Well, there's pirates, you know? And so it just sort of, the dots just started forming. And I thought, oh my gosh, I could write a story. I could write a book. But again, I'm not an author. I don't consider, even though I wrote a book and I'm about to write my second, I don't consider myself an author. I don't consider myself a graphic designer. I don't consider myself an artist. I really don't consider, I don't even consider myself an editor or an animator or any of these things that I do. I don't consider myself that. The one thing that I consider myself is a creative designer. That's overall basically what I always say. You know, if someone says, well, what do you do? You know, I'm a creative designer. You may be asking, well, what is the difference between a graphic designer or a creative designer or an author or whatever? Well, the difference is I'm self-taught. I did not go to school for graphic design. I don't know the terms. I just kind of design with how I feel in the moment. You know, everything that I learned, you know, I taught myself how to figure out Adobe Illustrator. I taught myself how to work Adobe Premiere Pro. I taught myself how to do Adobe Animate. I taught myself how to write a book, how to illustrate that book. And, you know, everything that I do today, I taught myself. I heavily rely on my imagination to get what I want out of a particular project, whether that be editing, video editing, or animating a series, or writing a book. I come up with interesting ways of getting that job done, and that's what I feel is a creative designer, is thinking creatively to design something, to finish and design your project is basically how I look at it. I thought, all right, well, how am I going to do this? Because I'm a terrible speller. If you read my first copy of my book, you would see how bad of a speller I am. I'm a very bad speller. My first copy of Roscoe's World is just full of spelling errors and grammar errors. It's really bad. I was really concerned about writing a book. I thought, I can't write a book. You know, like, you have to know what you're doing when writing a book. You have to have all the right grammar, and you got to have spelling perfectly. And I don't think I can do this. I thought, well, all right, well, let's just see. So I went to Barnes and Noble, went to the kids section, and I just went looking through thousands of books. I mean, I'd grab a book and look through it, put it back, grab a book, look through it, put it back. And I looked at just a ton of books. And, you know, I always look for things that are not done the same way. So what I discovered was that a lot of books are either just mainly words and a few pictures, or they're mainly pictures with few words. Well, I thought, all right, well, what if you combined the two? You know, lots of pictures and lots of words. Who doesn't want to read a book like that? Lots of pictures, lots of words, right? So I thought, okay, well, maybe I can do this. Let's give it a try, right? And so I went home and I wrote it out. Wrote a draft of it, and I literally checked it out. And I finished the overall, or at least my first draft, within like a couple days. I had already previously had been thinking about doing an idea. Now, I thought about my story long before I ever wrote a single word of it. It took me a long time to try to talk myself into doing this. I really didn't have the confidence to do this. I didn't think I could write a book, let alone write a good book. And so it took me a long time to go from, well, man, maybe I should write a book, to actually writing a book. I would say almost a year, because I started Roscoe's World 3 years ago, but I didn't write my book, and I didn't finish my book until, what was it, like May 2 years ago. Worked on Roscoe's World for over a year and a half before I ever wrote my book for Roscoe's World. Yeah, it took a while for me to build up the confidence to do it. Then the day came where I finished my book. Here is the first copy that I ever got. You can tell because here's my book now. It's much bigger. It looks completely different than the way it did. This one will always be my pride and joy right here, this one, because this is the first one. You can tell it doesn't have a spine. And this is the one that is full of errors, and it's got a lot. I mean, if Roscoe's World ever took off, this book would be worth a fortune. And I've got several of them up there. I've got like at least 5 or 6 of these first editions that if Roscoe's World ever took off, they would be worth a fortune. But anyways, back to the story. So I finished my book. I thought, okay, now what? And I thought, well, what else could I add to the book to kind of built the book up? I mean, the book is the main story. What can I do to help sell the book? So I thought, what else do kids like to do besides read a book? Well, they like to play games. So I created an activity book. Again, never created a puzzle a day in my life. I actually think it turned out amazing for the the knowledge that I had with creating this stuff. It was like non-existent. So like I say it again all the time. If I can do this, you can do this. So I created a activity book, and this was the first half of the activity book. What is this, 40 puzzles? And I created the second half, puzzles, for a total of 80 puzzles. They turned out amazing. I'm really disappointed that the activity book didn't sell as well as it could have. In fact, I don't think I've ever sold a single copy of my activity book. And it's really disappointing because I think my activity book turned out amazing. If I'd gotten this activity book as a kid, I would have been thrilled. This activity book was awesome, I think. And I could just be biased because I did it, I created it, but I think it turned out amazing. You're looking for a good activity book, check it out. It's like, what, $14.99? Very, very cheap. So I created the activity book, and I created a bunch of other stuff that I haven't shown anybody. And so I think I'm gonna go ahead and show them now, because a lot of this stuff is gonna go into storage, because I have to clear out my computer to make room for volume 2. So a lot of this stuff is getting taken off of my computer and put into a storage device. And so I have a lot of plans, a lot of designs that I created for Roscoe's World that I never was able to make work. And so why not show it now? So now let's go ahead and take a look at some never before seen plans that I had for Roscoe's World Volume 1. I haven't opened these files since I created them. So some of them may be a little crude, but they are completed. And I've never shown anybody any of these designs that I had for Roscoe's World. And for whatever reason, I couldn't get them made or created. Let's start with the first one. So the first one that I created were these playing cards. These were Roscoe's World playing cards. These actually really turned out amazing. I still have plans to release the playing cards. I did find a company that I can get these made with. I just kind of haven't had the time to sit down and get them made, but these designs are coming. And so these are my Roscoe's World deck of cards. All right, so you got the aces over here, you got the king, you got the queen, you got jack, you got 10s, 9s. And what I love about this design is that the name is down on the side. You know, 10 of clubs, 10 of spades. You can see it. I really love my Roscoe's World playing cards. And so these will be coming out soon. I just need to sit down one night, get them made. This is completed. And there's tons of games you can play with this. You got your 6s. The next one that I created, Uno. I had created a set of Uno cards. And I called it Roscoe's World Volume Uno. I mean, but I could never get a meeting with Mattel. Mattel is the owner of Uno, and I could never get a meeting with Mattel or try to get anyone to contact me about getting my games made. Here's Uno. Again, I've said this many times, I'd like to be different than everybody else. My Uno cards is a little bit different. So you play it like you normally would. You can change the color if you have the same number, and everything is pretty much the same, except for one move. If you look close enough, you will see that there are dog versions and you will see that there are cat versions. And so what that means is there's two different sets of cards. There are dogs and there are cats. Now, in order to change a card between cats and dogs, you'd have to throw the reverse card. So not only does the reverse card make it go back the other way, but it also changes it from a dog to a cat. And so now you can only put cat cards or dog cards. You can't put dog cards on top of cat cards. And which I thought was an interesting way of playing with it. But it's got all the character POIs that I had created. They really turned out amazing. Quite proud of how they turned out. So as you can see, so this 6 here, you see, he's a cat. And that same one up here is a dog. These actually turned out amazing. I'm actually probably gonna make these at the very least for myself, unless I ever get a meeting with Mattel. I probably will never be able to release these because I can't get the rights to Uno. I work all the time. There's conventions that come here. There's a big convention, a licensing convention that comes every year, and every year I try to get a meeting with Mattel and Hasbro to see if I can get my Uno cards made or my board games, which also what I'm going to show you next, to try to get them made. I can't ever seem to get a meeting with them. So if anyone from Mattel or anyone from Hasbro happens to see this video, please contact me. I have some really good ideas for games that I think would really change the outlook of the game and bring some new life to it. Some of those ideas I'm going to keep to myself because they're really, really good and I really want to make them work with Roscoe's World. So I'm not going to tell you all of my ideas, but I do have some really good ideas. So if anyone from Mattel or Hasbro sees this video, please contact me. Okay, so yeah, now we have Uno here. You got the draw 4s down here. Check out these draw 4s. These are pretty good. I like these draw 4s. You got the Mayan calendar. This is pretty cool. I like this one. And then you just got me as a regular wild. But yeah, they look amazing. I love them. Okay, so next, now we move into Hasbro board games. I wanted to create some more board games. I created a Sorry. Do you all remember that game Sorry? Well, I created a Sorry board. So here's my Sorry board. Got the Vikings on green. You have the Pirates on red. You got the Mayans on the blue. And you got England on the yellow. And this is my Roscoe's World Sorry board. You can see that there's an extra square here. That's because this Sorry game is played a little bit differently than the traditional game of Sorry. It's pretty much the same except for this little square, but I'm gonna keep that to myself because if I ever get this created, I think it'd be a big deal. So I'm gonna keep that to myself. Here are the cards for Sorry that I created. Man, I mean, look at these. These look so good. Really sucks that I couldn't get these games created because, man, I would play these games all the time. They look amazing. Here's my Sorry cards. Move from the start, then switch places with an opponent who sends you back to start. I mean, these are great. I haven't seen these in a while because I haven't opened these up in a while because like I said, I could never get them to work. These turned out really well. I really like these. I wish I could have made these work because they turned out amazing. Ah, well, maybe one day. So that's Sorry. The next one I have is Candyland. So I created a Candyland game. Now this game actually resembles the story of Roscoe's World. In Roscoe's World, you start in England, or you start in Egypt, in the tomb. And so that's how you start in the game, in this board game. So you start in Egypt and then you mosey on through. Now there's a little portal because the portals are what bring you here. So not only if you land on the space, you get put into the portal and you're brought to here. Portal board is all over the place. See? Then you go into the Mayan city. Then you go into the Japanese garden over here. You hit the Vikings. And then you're into Pirate Cove. You got the Great Wall of China. The gods on Mount Olympus. You got the King of England. And then you have a little bit of America. And then these spots, again, I'm going to go ahead and keep these for myself. I'm not going to explain what these are. They are little pieces that add a different aspect to the game. So here are my cards. Again, I utilized the characters in Roscoe's World Volume 1 to create these cards. And they look amazing. So I really wanted to get this made, but I just said I couldn't get it done. But man, this looks fun, right? And man, I really wanted to get this made, but unfortunately couldn't get a meeting. Now I am gonna, I have an idea to continue this storyboards, and I probably will continue this design in volume 2, but you'll never see it unless I get a meeting with Hasbro or Mattel, because I have an idea to continue this. Unless I can get any kind of a release, I can't use it because it's copyrighted. And then the last game that I created was obviously Monopoly. You have to create a Monopoly, right? And this Monopoly board turned out really cool. I really liked the way this looked, and I designed every aspect of it. So, you know, you got us coming out of the O's in the Monopoly. You have your, so here's your board. You know, this over here is your starting point. You got all the characters. You go around. So this would be the purple would be Egypt. You got the trains spaces are the gods of Mount Olympus. So if you look, they are all the gods of Mount Olympus. You got the Vikings on light blue. The Mayan guards. This is jail. So here's jail. Got the Mayans on this light purple. You got the Roman guards on orange. This one up here obviously is free parking, but instead of free parking, it's free food. Then you got the Americans on red. You got pirates on the yellow. Got some more explorers on green. Oh, this guy right here is the guy that goes directly to jail. Go directly to jail. That guy, he's here. I thought this was amazing. And then you've got China over here on the blue. And this is a really cool board, and it would have been amazing to make this work. Now you may be looking at the coins here and the dog food. These are your chance and community chest. So the coins is chance, and the dog bowl thing here is community chest. Now these cards are amazing. These cards are really, really cool. I really wish I could have made this work. But here are your chance cards. So the pharaohs require tribute to the gods. Let's get closer. Advance to the nearest railroad. Pay twice the rental amount. Vikings are coming. Move ahead to the nearest utility. Pay 10 times your roll to the owner. If unowned, you may buy. You forgot your wallet. Go back 6 spaces. Welcome to the new world. Pay the native income tax, $40. You escaped being in jail or save until needed. So this is your get out of jail free card. Show off your independence. Move ahead to any space. You are being sacrificed. Go directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You're building Bonehenge. Collect $150 to finish construction. You are allowed entry to the Forbidden City. Advance to any space. Look at all this gold. All players pay you $50. Got you are under attack. Repair all of your properties. Each house is $25. Each hotel is $100. And then pay a tribute to the gods. Advance to the nearest railroad. Pay twice the amount. If unowned, you may buy. Read calendar. Collect $200. Pirate one, you made captain. Stop the fighting. Pay each player $50. So move ahead to meet the Mayan. Pass go. Collect $200. And then it says the gods want you to take a train ride. Pick any train. If you pass go, collect $200. And then these obviously are the characters. You know, so you don't have cars. You got little Roscoe characters, and they're in the different colors. Here are the community chest cards. You won the Greek race. You won the Greek Roscoe race. Collect $45. Welcome to Roscoe's world. Please pay me $25. I haven't seen these since I created them. They really turned out really good. I like these. You placed second in a dog show. Collect $10. You fought your way to $100. The Holy Temple of Wet Dog Food needs money for food. Pay $150. You find peace and quiet, and also $200. I forgot how amazing these are. Man, I really wish I could have made this work. God, these are amazing. I love this. You are being sacrificed. Go directly to jail. Do not pass go or collect $200. You found buried treasure. Collect $100. You have escaped being in jail. The king orders a Viking invasion tax. All players must pay $50. Newly formed federal property tax. This is funny. It's the government. Newly formed federal property tax. House pays $40. Hotels $100. Caesar gives you $50. Look out for other players. Don't like that. Military pay. Collect $100. You took everyone out for sushi. Pay $100. You entered the King's Tournament. Pay $50. And then, of course, free $200. Man, these turned out really good. God, I really wish I could have made these work. I mean, could you imagine playing this with your family? Oh, would have been amazing. Here are the deed cards. Yeah, I mean, I got Bonehand, Hermes Train, Private Captain, American Commander. So, like I said, it would have been amazing. I couldn't make it work. I even created some dice. So here's the dice that I created. So obviously this one would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The dice would have been cool too. Like I said, I couldn't get anything to work. The other thing that I had created, let's see if I can pull it up. So another thing that I had created, which took forever, and I'm really bummed that I could use this because it took so long to teach me how to do it. I mean, out of everything I created, this actually took the longest to create because I had to teach myself how to make it work, and it took forever, and it really bummed me out that I couldn't use it, and I'll explain why. But basically, I created a digital activity book. It's basically the same as my book, except you can play it on the tablet. You wouldn't need a physical book. You could literally play it, and it works. So for this one, highlight the words. There's torch here. You got Pharaoh right here. And so you literally could play this board. You can use the pen, and you could do the dot to dots. For this particular thing, let's see which one. So here and here. Let's see where else. Oh, right here. So yeah, you could literally play this, and they all work. You could do all of the, you know, see? You could do all of the mazes. I don't remember which way this one went. I've hit the wall. Yeah, it would have been amazing to work if it would have worked. See, find the product. So here, you got one here, you got one here. The coloring would have worked. Here's another one. See, that one is what, man? Yeah, man. So you go down and you find man, and then you come over here to and that one's what, dog. So, like I said, they all work. This one was mummy. Just, it's really too bad that it didn't work. Same with this one. You can literally type. Let's see, 8 down was what? What was the first flash Josh saw? Oh, pyramid. P. So it's better if you capitalize. P. I. R. Okay. Yeah, I can't spell pyramid. I told you I was a bad speller. Give me a break, okay? That was embarrassing. Let's see. Let's do what I can spell. Where are we at? Who is the silent kitty? All right, so you got Z, I, G, G, Y. It would have been really cool, but like I said, and so the reason why I couldn't, so this one was cool too. So this is a jumble. You figure out the words. So this one, if you wanted a hint, you press the hint button, and the hint would pop up and say place. And so this one was Rome. Oops. So that would be Rome. And then once you were done answering all of this, you would activate this, and it would bring up the circle, and then you would take this M and answer the final question. It was, like I said, this thing would have been amazing, and it took forever. So the reason why I couldn't get it to work is you can't put, they call this file format an EPUB, interactive EPUB. A lot of places where you put books and stuff like that, they don't allow an interactive EPUB. I don't understand why it's formatted for an interactive EPUB if you can't actually use an interactive EPUB. Like, you can use it on Adobe PDF Reader or whatever, but not everybody has Adobe. So I could release it for that. It's not in the correct format. The whole thing was to be on your tablet, you play the game, you swipe left, you play the next game, you swipe left, you play the next game. I couldn't get it to work. The internet won't accept an interactive EPUB as the file format, so I couldn't get it, I couldn't use it. It really sucked, because this took me 6 months, I think, to learn how to set up everything properly, and then on top of it, get it to work properly. It took me forever. Out of everything that I worked on, this took me the longest, and then I wasn't even able to use it. And so that was really disappointing. That really sucked. So yeah, so that was all of my unreleased plans. I always use the terminology. It's one of my favorite lines. My plans have plans. There are tons and tons of plans that I had for Volume 1 of Roscoe's World that I just wasn't able to to do or use, and that really bums me out. But who knows? Maybe, time will tell. I have new plans for Roscoe's World Volume 2, some new books that I was able to come up with. I'm definitely going to be adding some new stuff to Volume 2 that is not part of Volume 1. And who knows? Maybe the games and all that other stuff will get released at some point. Especially those board games. Man, I really wanted those board games to work. Those board games are so awesome. My family is... kids, we loved Uno. We played board games, and Uno, dominoes. Dude, we did it all the time. We still play sometimes board games and stuff like that. But man, if I could have released that stuff, man, it'll be cool if it works out that. Okay, so that's pretty much the overall pass of everything. So now with Volume 2, we're basically starting over. We're starting from scratch because every volume of Roscoe's World will have the same stuff. Every volume will have the board games. Every volume will have all the clothes. Every board game will have all the books. And then I'll add to it. With every volume, I'll add different books that weren't in it. And so that's what we're going to do with Volume 2. So we are starting over. This new series is going to follow my entire journey that I went through with Roscoe's World Volume 1. And I'm actually going to do it the same exact way as I did the last time. Now, even though I had a very difficult time finding a literary agent due to the fact that I wrote my book backwards. I didn't mention this earlier, but I wrote Roscoe's World backward. Like I said, it wasn't intended to be that way. I wanted to do a coloring book. I had the pictures. It wasn't until after I'd had the pictures that I created this story for Roscoe's World. So I wrote the story based off the pictures. And again, I like the way it turned out. I think it's an interesting take on how to write a book. And so I'm going to do the exact same thing. Even though the whole literary agent thing held that against me, I'm gonna do the exact same way because I actually won an award for the way my book was created. If you haven't seen it, Roscoe's World actually did win an award, Best Children's Historical Fiction, and I also won third place in overall design. Out of all the books that were entered, I took third. And so I'm not gonna change up the formula for Volume 2. I'm gonna do the exact same thing that I did for Volume 1. In the next videos coming up, we're going to create the 30 POIs that we're going to go into Volume 2. And so that way you can kind of see where we're going before the Volume 2 is even written. So this video series is going to be a long one too because it's going to take a while, just like the last one did. But there is no better time to follow me on my journey than it is right now, because if you ever had any kind of an idea of ever writing your own story or creating a book of your own, whether that be activity books, coloring books, or an actual storybook, I can show you how to do it. I'll show you all the ins and outs. I'll show you the good, bad, and the ugly part of all of this. And I'll show you how to get through it. That's what you'll find in this video series, is basically everything you need to know to write a book. Now we need to discuss where I want to go with this. Roscoe's World Volume 2, like I said, I'm going to be doing it the same way. I'm going to create the 30 POIs before I even write a single word of Volume 2. Originally, I wanted to do 30 different places of interest. So my first volume goes Egypt, Rome, Greece, China, Japan, Mayans, pirates, English, American, and Vikings. And I was planning on doing a bunch of different places. Every volume would be in a different place. But one book for some of these places is not enough. 3 pictures for one of these places, that's not enough. So I've actually changed my opinion. So what I'm going to do is we're going to revisit some of these old characters and some of these old places. So instead of 30 brand new POIs, we'll probably do half. So there'll be 5 new places of interest and revisiting some old friends. So there'll be 15 of the old POIs and 15 new POIs. We'll have to create some more POIs for the old ones and then create some new ones. Now, where do we go for the new ones? When you're writing a book about history, you have to be very careful about where you pick. It's not like I can pick Germany. Germany has a very dark history. Even in world history, Germany is not looked at in the best light. The other part of picking these POIs is I like to use famous people. Like, there's Caesar in Rome. You got George Washington in America. Picking famous people in certain places, you have to be very careful about who you pick, because let's say I picked Hitler. Well, that would be a very, very bad thing to do. Don't worry, I'm not going to do that. I'm not crazy. That would be like the end of Roscoe's world, and I'm not going to do that. I don't really know what to do about Germany, because Germany's a big place, and honestly, come on, Germany deserves to have their own place in Roscoe's world, but I have to be very, very careful about how I do that. So I don't know if I'm going to do Germany, at least in this go around. I might, but I haven't decided. Another one I'm going to do, we're going to do France, I think. Again, Russia's a touchy subject. Russia's tough too. Got to be careful with that one as well. So I don't, and Russia's big, so I don't know how I'm going to make those two work. Germany and Russia is going to be the toughest. So I'm not sure I'm going to use them for this go around. Might use Spain. Could go to Spain. I was thinking about doing Mexico. One of the things in Roscoe's world is there's no time. You can see pharaohs in Egypt and George Washington at the same time. Even though they are separated by thousands of years, you're going to see them in the same time frame. So there is no concept of time in Roscoe's world. Even though the Mayans is technically Mexico, I thought about doing maybe a more updated version of Mexico. Maybe I could do Canada. See, South America, I don't have a whole lot of South America. I could do Peru, maybe Argentina, Brazil. There's a lot I could go with. There's not a whole lot of Africa. There's Egypt, but that's super north of Africa, so I could go some of those countries in Africa. There's a lot of choices to pick, but I have to be very, very careful about which places I pick, because history is often very dark. For a kid's book, people kind of get up in a fit if you pick the wrong thing. Even if it is a mistake, they'll crucify you. So I haven't really narrowed down the different places I'm going to do yet. The difference between writing my last book and writing this book is when I wrote the first one, I didn't have a baseline. I just kind of sat at the computer and just started typing away, and just whatever crazy idea I came out with it. But this time, there's already a baseline for Roscoe's world. I have to continue the story. It's not creating a story from nothing. It's continuing an existing story. And where we left off with Roscoe's world, I don't want to tell you, because that'll spoil the end. So I'm not going to tell you. If you want to know what happens at the end of Roscoe's world, you can always buy my book. If you want to know what happens at the end, please check out my book. I think you'll like it. Especially some of the people that I've been following with all the dog videos. You're going to want this book. This book is awesome for dogs and cats. Paints cats off to be villains, but you might be sympathetic to that. Who knows? Definitely check out Roscoe's world if you want to know what happens at the end. Yeah, I got to be careful about how much I show, because again, I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to spoil the ending. There's a much larger plan for Roscoe's world that I have planned that I do not want to spoil the ending. I know the ending of every book that I have planned, all 8 to 10 volumes. I have an ending in mind. Each one is going to end on a cliffhanger, and I do not want to spoil those cliffhangers. Otherwise, it's not going to be a very good book. I'm going to be careful about what I show you. That's future plans. So tomorrow we will start with the first POI as soon as I figure out what the first POI is going to be. So now I have going to sit here and go through my computer and clean it out and get rid of everything that I created for volume 1 and put it on a storage drive and put that storage drive in a desk somewhere. It's time to clean it out and start fresh with volume 2. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching. I know it was kind of a little bit of a boring one, but like I said, if you ever were interested in writing your own book or doing anything along the lines of what I've created with Roscoe's World, now is the time more than ever to hit that follow button and follow along, because I'm going to walk you through everything. The way that Hollywood is nowadays, with a lot of remakes and reboots, they are out of fresh ideas. So it's up to us to create new, exciting stories that, who knows, could be told in a movie or a TV show someday. You never know what's going to happen, and that's the beauty of this. Your book could blow up, but unless you do it, unless you write it, you'll never know. Hit that follow button. Let's work together. Let's get this done. Let's build a community around this, and let's help each other out. I'll see you in the next one.